in your playwriting, did you do any, sort of memoirish plays or thinly
I don't,
veiled
you
memoir
know,
in your plays?
I don't mean to, but then I notice in my plays people are chronically ill in some way, or pieces of their bodies have fallen off. In 2019, I spent 8 months in hospitals and nursing home, almost lost my right foot,
Mm,
almost. Like said to the surgeon, don't take it off until you wake me up. I want to make that decision. And he said,
mm,
I won't, you got it. I got it.
mhm,
And so I lost a little bit of bone, but I kept the foot. It's got a heavy brace on it. It hurts every second. Like that was the better choice. And yeah, who knows? Who knows how that's going to go? We'll talk about this later, but it's had 6 surgeries on one foot. That's just how I do things. I'm in
mhm,
pain every second. And sometimes I have to wrap my brain around the fact that, oh, like some young, strong, healthy people are not in pain every second. Really?
mm,
I don't even
mm,
get that. Like, I don't even, this is not,
mm,
and so as my friends and I get into our 60s, we're like, oh yeah, I feel, yeah, I'm so in pain every minute. But I've been in
mm,
pain every minute since I was 20. And as
mm,
you get into your 60s, lupus quiets down a little bit because the immune system is not as aggressive, which means it doesn't take care of you the way it did. But in my case, it was good in that my immune system was aggressively attacking every minute. It just was
mm.
always up to something. So I lost my left hip in May, emergency surgery, and that's going to happen. One of my nieces made me promise to slow down on the surgeries. I've had 16 at this point. So that's when my family said, okay, 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 stop, stop.
Mm,
And I kind of did. And actually, one of my doctors said, you're done. Stop, stop, stop. Only
mhm,
emergencies from now on. And I said, okay, that's fair. Um, so
mm,
there are surgeries pending, but I'm trying to at least space them out. And I would like to, I'm still very much mourning Grace. I would love to
mm,
get another dog. And I think I'm stronger in a funny way than I was 5 years ago
mhm,
because my immune system is a little bit calmer. And
mhm,
I mean, I'm teaching, I have a first like regular job for the first time in 10 years. And it's
mm,
really hard. It's really hard for me to do 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. It's
mhm,
exhausting, but I can do it. And I'm very
mhm.
excited about that. Very excited
That's
about that.
that's
Yeah.
good.
So,
How when you decided to write your memoir, um, why didn't you go to play form? Why didn't you go to the
well,
place that
you
you
know,
knew the best?
yeah, I mean, there's a ton of dialogue in it. So it's a little unusual for a memoir in that sense. And I'm getting the dialogue out of my notebooks because I wrote, oh my God, Vinny's here. Hi. Because I wrote down every appointment or every disaster as it was occurring. So it's pretty
Mhm,
close, but I used not quotes but dashes to say this is pretty close to what I remember, what I wrote down in that moment.
mhm,
So I was still writing plays. I had just finished having a production of Teresa at Home, which is a one woman show for 3 or more actresses, which Vinny directed. And I was trying to start another play. And I remember talking to Vinny about this. I couldn't do it. The memoirs just bothering me. So, as with anything else I do, I had written down everything. I was finally diagnosed after getting sick in about 1980. I was diagnosed in 1986. I was living in New York City at the time, acting. And I had wanted to do that since I was 5. I saw Mary Poppins. I saw
mhm.
Julie Andrews do that thing. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I didn't tell anyone. It was too precious to even tell anyone. But I was doing it and I was good at it. And I was deathly ill, deathly ill.
Mm,
And I was going
mm,
to the hospital monthly with crippling arthritis flares. And lupus is more easily diagnosed now than it was then. But the other thing is in 45 years, I've had exactly 2 positive blood tests. So I can be in the fever of 105. I'm in the hospital. The blood tests are fine. Everything looks great. And I
Mm,
can't walk, and it's 105 fever, and I'm dying. The blood tests are fine. I
mm,
know they just don't have the blood tests that catch my particular brand of lupus. It's still not very well understood. I've
mm,
always said it's the brain. Don't look anywhere else. It's the brain. My brain overreacts to something. And that crazy dog, it's partly called Grace because she could spot lupus flares coming. And
mm,
what she did was they tend to come on like a flare is like complete and total shutdown,
mm,
breakdown, everything goes. And so they tend to come on for whatever reason between 8 and 10 at night. And I would take her out for her last pee, and she wouldn't pee. And she would just wander and go and talk to the neighbors and go up the hill, and I'd be going, "Well, you just fucking pee." And I'd be like, "I've got to lie down, get in, get in, I gotta lie down. Let's go, let's go, let's go." And then I would kind of go, "Wait a second. Am I sick?
mm,
I gotta lie down. Wait a minute." And I would just, and she had vampire stare. She would just look at me, and I would finally go, "Oh, wait a second. My legs won't
mm,
move. My jaw is locked. Oh,
mm,
I'm really hot. Oh, wait a second." Somehow that crazy dog figured this out. She either smelled the chemicals or she saw me walking funny. I
mhm,
don't know. I'd go upstairs. I had 103 fever. I'd take a bunch of prednisone, call my friends, "Can you come get Grace? I've got to the hospital. I got to go to the hospital." She did that like 3 times. It's
yeah,
reasonable that part of the book is about her, and it's very much stories about Grace and me. In fact, the one of the ones I'm going to read today is the first one, which is Roland's favorite. So we're going to do that. Um,
nice.
but I can't tell the story of me trying to grow up a little bit also without including Grace because she grew me up. She redefined me. Being
Mhm,
a dog mom changed me profoundly.
mm,
She
mm,
she was just the center of my life for 17 years. And the fact that I'm puttering along without her, I get it. Dogs leave us. We don't get to keep our dogs forever. But she did profoundly and permanently grow me up in a way that I don't
mm.
think anything else would have, including lupus. I don't think
S-
so. Yeah.
So if we can, they're amazing. Animals are amazing about that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I know with my dog, when I had my knees replaced right on my bed, the whole,
Yeah, the whole time.
yeah, they really know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Um, and then we'll move into the reading part of it, but I just wanted to ask you, Janet, what compelled you? Because it's so, it's much, it's many more words to write a memoir than it is to write a play often, unless, you're Eugene O'Neill or you're doing
Or
cycle dramas. But what was your impetus for it? To put it out there, to
when
get it
I'm
all in one
working,
place.
absolutely. And sometimes I work in short stories. I'm not very good at that. Mostly I work in plays. Sometimes I've written a couple of screenplays. I can see the finished form in my head, not only
Hmm.
on the play, on the stage if it's a play, but on the page. I know what it
Mm,
looks like when it's in finished form on a page. And it's got 2 formats: chapter, 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 update,
hmm.
chapter, update, chapter, update. And the updates are the disasters that happened while I was working on the book, which is why it took 10 years, 12 surgeries, 2 broken backs, 2 broken arms, devastated shoulder,
Mm,
disasters all the time. So
mm.
that's where it just gets weird and funny. I open what the chapters with. This is where it starts to sound like a Monty Python sketch. Like this happened, and then this other amazing thing happened. How did that happen? I don't know.
Mhm.
So when
Yeah.
to concisely answer your question is when I thought about it, I could see it on the page.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is how my brain works. It sees things
Nice.
the way they're going to look when they're finished. And I guess that's my seed to plant to say it might take you 10 years, but you can finish it. And yes, it was an enormous. I actually finished it during one of my 5 month days in a nursing home. I was
Mm.
down in the little no liquor pub in the basement with scary mice running around every night, trying to finish the chapters. And
Mm.
obviously, I had nothing else to do, so that's what I did. And one night I came up and I said to the nurses on my floor, "I finished the book," and they said, "Well, that's great. Here are your meds. Go to bed." Okay.
Uh,
I was, it was incorporated, and I
mm,
don't think I would have finished it without long stays in the nursing home. I just,
mm.
I've had way too much time in a nursing home for someone my age. Absolutely.
Well, turning lemons into lemonade,
I wrote a book. I
hay
made
into straw, I mean, straw into gold.
I, last time
Beautiful.
I did textbooks. I made 3 quilts. I keep busy. Yeah,
Mm.
called it my busy bed. It's like everything all over it.
Well,
Five.
I'm glad you took the time out to share part of your story with us. And I just want to remind people if you have people talking in the background or you're having a little party, if you mute yourself and you can still be here. If you're not having that kind of thing go on, we'd love for Janet to hear your response to her work in terms of laughter or tears or, oh, that was beautiful. Um, so we're going to do about a half an hour of reading. And Janet, if you'll introduce each chapter as you go, and I, for one, am just so excited to hear
Thank
it. So, Janet, take
you.
it
You.
away.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so, so, so honored and thrilled that you're here. Um, so this is from the opening chapter, Memoir Now, 1987. Basically, I cannot wait till 70, till after I cure myself, win an Oscar, a Tony, a Pulitzer, or get a husband. I better write this now. This, we better get going with the memoir. Um, and this particular part of the intro jumped to 2007 or so. Here we go. Okay. Recently, I almost killed my dog. Grace is a beautiful Maltese poodle mix, though there's something else in there. I think Bichon. She's probably an African white dwarf giraffe. I have her hair cut short by our groomer, so she looks like a lamb. People stop us all the time to ask what she is, and I tell them, yeah, she's part sheep. Sue, she's about 18 pounds, all leg with floppy, fluffy ears and brown vampire eyes. We live near Cleveland Circle Reservoir, which is a state park. There, I let her off her leash because after lots and lots of training, she comes right back when I call her. I'd like to give her as much dog time as possible, and I'm most content when watching her enjoy herself. But when I see her dive towards the ground, long, graceful neck first, I know she's got something dead. Oh, she's too far gone. Somewhere inside that goofy little house pet, there's a wolf that is trying to, sorry, somewhere inside that goofy little house pet is a wolf that needs to cover its tracks so its enemies cannot kill it. The best I can do is to get her away from her. I hobble over. I wear a cast on my right leg. There's no point in it, meaning there's nothing healing in there, but it's too awful to walk without it. She's rolling in a mouse's dead corpse. Trans in a stick, I pop it away from her, knock it as close to the water as possible. She gets a good scolding for not listening, but I can see in her eyes she can't help herself. And I think, fair enough, that was a really good corpse. Would you like to go to the shelter? I ask her, but she doesn't get the joke. Or maybe she's too far gone. Nothing could make me lose her now except my own carelessness, an extraordinary level of distraction brought on by intractable fatigue, terrible pain, the 12 or so diseases I have acquired, and the 27 medications I take. On the afternoon she was almost killed, we headed out in our usual discombobulated state. Our friend Moxie, a Shih Tzu Bichon mix, was with us. First, I went back for my scarf, then for my crochet in case I had time to work on it later. Ooh, then for my transportation access pass, a discounted pass that disabled passengers on the Boston Transport line have. I locked the door, then the dogs waited patiently in the hallway while I unlocked the door another time and go back in for some water. After going back in one more time for dog treats, we headed out. I asked the dog trainer if that would make the dog crazy, this 6 trips back in all the time. But she told me that dogs get used to what they're used to. Grace doesn't know that some people make it out the door on one trip. The elevator groans to a start. I lean against the wall and close my eyes for a moment. I'm already tired, wondering what the fever is about, wondering when, if I'll get the cast off, because snow is coming and it only has a bit of foam at the toe. I'm worn out already, though I haven't done much, so there's no particularly reason for my terrible fatigue, except that I'm always terribly fatigued. And I have several hours of babysitting ahead. All I've done so far today is call doctors and medical personnel. Can I get the TENS unit, a small neural blocker that can distract the brain from a pain source, from the dealer now that the insurance company has finally approved it? Can the folks at Faulkner Pain Clinic send a fax to my primary care physician with the notes from the last visit, at which time we discussed a narcotic patch that would deliver more consistent pain relief than the up and down all day of Percocet and Tylenol? Does anyone have free samples of Lamictal, my seizure med? Because somehow I lost them. Not the bottle, just the pills. And my insurance company won't cover it. Like that. That's normal for a Monday. Perhaps it was the two red leashes that caused the problem. I'm not sure, but somehow I didn't see that Grace's leash was not completely inside the elevator until it was too late. Awkwardly, I swooped down to grab it, but the elevator was already moving. Her leash was dragged by the elevator's motion to the side of its door. She was swept up and dragged all the way to the top of the door. She was dangling by her neck, her head smashed against the corner of the elevator. I screamed and reached for her. She was too high for me to get at her collar. I tried to loosen the hook, but I couldn't. I'm only 5'0" and I'm not a good jumper. I jammed her up, trying to ease the pressure on her neck so she wouldn't be strangled. She yelped. She was dying. Her neck was broken.
Oh,
I had time to picture us in the elevator, me holding her lifeless body, keening. 2 years of my life and a love that surprises me every day, more work than I have ever guessed at. In some ways, the most extraordinary gamble I've ever taken, and had won beyond deserving. And I could not reach her. I didn't have the time or the presence of mind to hit the emergency stop button, or I thought it would just make it worse. I can't claim either one for sure. I did nothing useful while my little love, my baby girl, died just about. When I sure I was lost her, the elevator hit bottom, the door opened, and the two of us tumbled out. We hit the floor of the lobby, somehow touching each other. I landed hard. She landed beside me, nearly beneath me. Then she popped up and ran to me. We rolled on each other, all paws and hands. I grabbed her. She had a bit of blood on her neck where the clasp from the collar had dug in. She jumped away from me and ran all over the lobby. When she noticed that I was crying, she came over and licked my face, which is what she usually does if I'm crying. Even if she's the one who made me cry, I or not, I'm being annoying for not being within a reasonable time frame at 11 o'clock on a freezing cold night. After I moaned, I ran her outside, thinking she needed fresh air. My neighbor was on the garden wall. I tried to tell my neighbor what happened while Gracie crawled up on my shoulder, her parrot spot, her safe zone. She's entirely too tall to fit up there, so it looks ridiculous. I could feel Gracie's heart racing against my neck as I rocked and kissed her through her little sweater. She hates sweaters. She used to come down off my shoulder, wriggling up higher whenever I tried to lower her. My neighbor was petting her, checking her body for lumps and bumps and breaks. Gracie's fine. She's not hurt. It began to seem that my neighbor might be right. I couldn't see Grace's face, but I could feel her, and she was alive. She was clinging to me for comfort, not knowing I'd been the problem. The leash was too high, too thick. I was too short, too weak. I was sore the next day, and she probably was too. She was not still crying the next day, but I was. It's chapter first reading.
oh my goodness.
Lovely.
I told you it was funny. It's okay. Okay. 1992. How to write. I was at this point transitioning forever from acting to writing. And at some point, I thought you actually need to learn to do that. So I was just writing like 5 notebooks a month. I just practiced and practiced and practiced. 1992, how to write.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I should say I was working at State Street Corporation. I worked there for 12 years because there was no other way for me to get insurance. And I had a ball. They were just amazing people. We had a wonderful time. Okay, how to write. I wonder why Rita keeps hitting me in the face. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see her beautifully, always beautifully manicured nails coming at me. Where's your gum? What? She slapped me again. This is odd. She's usually so nice to me. Rita said to someone she was chewing gum, but I can't get her mouth open.
Mm,
Okay, we got it, says a male voice. Then to me, do you have gum, sweetie?
mm.
2 men in uniform. Police? No. EMTs. But Rita was not ready to let up yet and used her strong hands to pull at my jaw and managed to open it. I don't see it, she told them. Where's your gum? I swallowed it. And I did. I was sitting at my desk exactly like any other May day, and then my head began to separate from my body. My body sank into my chair, but not all in one piece. But at that point, I had so many spells that I knew I had one coming. I also knew somehow that this one would be awful. The jamais vu was fast, intense. I didn't know quite what was happening, but I remember thinking I'd better get rid of the gum, so I swallowed it. Tell us that swallowed gum sat in your stomach for 7 years. Well, I didn't have time to get it out, and I didn't want to choke. When I woke up, I was lying on the dirty carpeted floor near my desk. I took a look up. Patsy was there, and Rita, and Suzanne, and Randy, and Michael. Yes, all the guys from the farm. My friends were talking to the EMTs, but I couldn't make sense of what they were saying. This is called aphasia. It's a break in the language center in the brain. I knew I was on the floor and thought it needed vacuuming. I assumed I'd passed out, but I hadn't ever had, I just had a grand mal seizure. Grand mal means big, bad seizure. Thousands of petit mal, small, bad seizures that we would now know what my spells were. I think we better take you to the hospital, one of the EMTs. But I didn't want to go to the hospital. Just my usual orneriness, I guess, or confusion. No, no hospital. We can't take her without permission. She's awake. Rita tapped at my chin, shook my teeth. Yes, yes. They EMTs have to take to one of the two nearest hospitals, and they have to give you a choice: Mass General or New England Medical. Brigham. I managed. Of course, Brigham. I always went to Brigham to have my organs removed. Of course, Rita went after me again. Tap, tap, tap. Say Mass General. Mass General. The next day, I called in at noon. Of course, they were all eager to tell me what had happened, and they put me on speakerphone. I described the bruises that had come up overnight. I must have hit my face on the way down. Big bruise and rug burn on the side of my face. My arms were bruised, and of course, after all the tests, my veins were held together with string and masking tape. Dr. Sands told me over the phone that yes, unfortunately, this is the lupus at work. I now had central nervous system, CNS lupus, as part of my systemic lupus. The most common manifestation of CNS lupus is seizures, so the spells were seizures, and we had to treat the lupus now aggressively. 40 milligrams of steroids, he had the nerve to say. 40 milligrams? How about 5? Come see me tomorrow. At Mass General, they'd written a prescription for Dilantin. It's supposed to prevent seizures, but I knew that any medication that could prevent a seizure would be really tough medicine. I would hold off for now. Dr. Sands was not happy. You are not doing well. I know. The problem with a chronically low platelet count and seizures is if you have a seizure, you fall and hit your head, you're bleeding in your head. You don't want that. Will you still be my doctor if I don't do exactly what you tell me? Will I fire you? No. I'm sorry. I know it's awful, and I can't think of anyone who deserves good health more, but right now that's the scoop. Your lupus is very active. Look at your face. I see it. I have a marked rash, the one that spreads over the nose to both cheeks. It's worse when your lupus is active. It's called the butterfly rash, but lupus was originally named lupus, as in wolf, after the rash. It was said at harsher times it looked like a wolf bite, but I wouldn't go up to 40, and I was stalling on the Delanton. He said, I feel like you're driving the boat, and I'm just in the back seat. I sent a note that he was saying that he was at least in the passenger seat. And oh, by the way, I drive with my eyes closed. So now this is an update. So this is one of the things that happened during the course of writing the book. So roughly 10 years, it's kind of sort of right in the middle then. Dedicating this reading to my Rehoboth family. As I said, my right foot has had now 6 surgeries. I was trying to get the first one done, the only one I thought I'd ever need. As I said, I wear a brace, and after my back collapsed in 2011, I use a walker. At this point in my story, my dad, my number one nurse 24/7, had passed away, and that changed everything. Winter 2014-2015. I wait over 2 hours for this surgeon. This is appalling to me, but he's a big shot, and I'm in a room full of people who don't mind. They say this is normal, and they would not be walking without him, and they advise patience. I love him on sight. He's loud and boisterous, and I feel he can almost shout the foot down. Surgery, which he can schedule in a few months. First, I need to go to PT and learn to walk on one leg and use a knee bike and get up and down from chairs and beds without putting any weight on my foot. When I finish my training, he will have a cast put on my foot. If I step on the cast, he won't do the surgery. I can't rush this. This has enormous implications for both of us. It'll be months. This is monumental surgery for you and for me. What's your support system like? Who can take care of you for 3 months? It's not great, I say, but my brother can probably take me in. But nobody's home at my brother's house. And when they are home, they're resting from their overwhelming days. And the kids are wildly busy with the last year of high school and the second year of college. I'd be thoroughly in the way, all alone and miserable, and with no one to help me, unsafe. When I carefully mention the discussion with my surgeon to my brother, he says, I don't know, we'll work it out. We'll figure something out. I heard, sure, no problem. Take care of you for 3 months. Oh, your brother's taking you in. That's good. I need to see him. I got to get the whole family involved. I don't say anything, knowing my whole family doesn't want to be involved. When my brother finds out the doctor wants to see him, he freaks. He'd never promised that. I hear half of what he says and make up the rest, etc. I start conjuring other alternatives. A person who's a frequent churchgoer who will take me in as a charity case. A friend of a friend of a friend who's a retired nurse and has an extra room on the first floor and no stairs and wouldn't mind a little company for 3 months. Facebook, I could post a notice asking anyone to ask anyone or anything they could think of, and maybe someone has an idea. Catholic charities, I still like a nice mass once in a while. Maybe a Catholic would take me in. I just go ahead and schedule everything anyway, because I had asked the doctor. The pain level now is so far beyond a 10 on that dumb pain scale, I can't even use a number. It's just extraordinary. What will the pain level be like when we finish? Nothing, 0. Is he talking about this foot? This one at the bottom of my leg? Let's do it. 2015 is the worst winter anyone can remember. It's historic, a real climate change winter. At over 100 inches of snow, it breaks every record for as long as they've been keeping records. The
It was
snow
horrible.
both you remember it. The snow banks on both sides of the road are 10 feet high. The sidewalks, where they've been shoveled at all, are about 12 inches wide. And even that's covered with snow. It's just enough for one person to walk 1 foot in front of the other. There is absolutely no space for two shattered, cast, cold, wet feet, four wheels and a dog. One night, I'm just trying to walk Grace, but I can't do it. It's been weeks of traveling like this, tromping on slippery snow and ice, knowing what's at stake if I slip. I pick up the walker, lift it as high as I can, put it down as far away from me as I can, wrestle with it over packed snow and ice so it's somewhat stable, take a step, take a breath, pick it up, reach it as far as I can, stop, lift, place, stabilize, stop, lift, place, stabilize, step, miss a spot, sway, grab the walker just in time, lift, place, stop. I try walking in the middle of the street, which has become an impromptu sidewalk with honking cars. But after all this snow, it's covered with rock salt, the stuff they use to melt snow. Rock salt is torture for dogs' feet. When Grace steps on it, she lifts her little leg and makes a pathetic screechy sound reserved only for rock salt. Grab a handful of clean snow and rub it on her burned paw till she sets it back down. She can't go 4 steps without this happening. Sorry. So she can't go 4 steps without this happening. It's often more than one paw, so she really can't move. And we have to go back to the sidewalk. I turn around because getting this far down the block was so dangerous. I stand at the corner, behind me the block that almost just took me down, ahead of me. More snowbanks. I can't turn left or right because of the snowbanks. Grace looks up at me, expectant, but I have no idea what to do. Janet? I hear a soft female voice, but the only person I can see is a young black man. This makes no sense. I must be getting ready to faint. After a moment, he manages to get himself out of my line and fissure. I see my neighbor from down the hall. Do you need help? I can't move. I can't go any further, and I can't go back. Do you want me to take Grace for a walk? Nodding, I reach over the snowbank and hand her the leash. She coaxes Grace up over the snowbank. I'll take her down the street, okay? I nod and stretch my hand out with a doggy bag in it. Can you get back home on your own? Stay on the street. Skip the sidewalk. I wrangle my way back down the middle of the street where I don't have to deal with Grace's poor paws and head home. I'm supposed to use a knee bike in this stuff? I'm supposed to wear a cast and keep it from touching the ground? My training does not go well. My arms are so damaged from the breaks, especially the right, and I can barely open a door with my left hand. I'm supposed to learn how to lift myself up a practice set of stairs, but my hands aren't strong and they hurt too much. The PT is not especially patient or sensitive, and she doesn't hear what I'm telling her. I can't do this. Yes, I can work a knee bike, a little scooter with a knee pad so you can keep your foot up while you scoot around, but after a few minutes, my hip is raw and I have to get off. I pretend things are not what they are. I am strong enough to manage. I have a place to stay for 3 months, even though I have no one to help me and nowhere to go and a dog to care for. Desperation is making me stupid. At my pre-screening visit, just about a week before the surgery, the caseworker says with a weird smile, I hate to be Debbie Downer, but you can't stay at the rehab. It's not covered unless you're in the hospital for 3 nights and you'll only be there for 2. Can he let me stay another night? No, insurance. I've got a long history. He could use that. Ask. No. The surgeon calls again. I'm seeing a bunch of red flags here. You promised your brother was going to take care of you. He was, but he changed his mind. I lied. I don't usually lie up, but I'm afraid of this surgeon. I'm afraid you won't do the surgery. You said you'd take care of this. You get 2 nights in the hospital, and that is it. I don't want you making a big stink over the weekend because you want to go to rehab and you can't. If you don't get a note from your brother saying he will take care of you for 3 months and I want it signed, I will not do that. I will not do this operation.
Ay.
5 days before the scheduled surgery, I'm up all night. I spent less than 10 minutes on a knee bike, and I don't think it would work for a few months. If the knee bike supports my right foot, what the heck is going to support my left side? How is my nasty, tattered left leg supposed to support my whole body? What did he say about a cast? I have a plastic thing that goes over the cast when you shower. I don't think he meant that. And I dream I didn't study for a test. I call his office in the morning and tell the receptionist I don't have a cast, and I haven't really used the knee bike. Should I have a cast? He calls back. He is furious. Did you have that letter from your brother? You should have been on a knee bike for weeks. You never even got a cast. Look, I'm not spending 5 hours of my time performing a very complicated operation, only to have you call you destroy it. Call close friends and doctors. They say it's okay to back out. You have to feel good about this. Dr. Sands tell me to be cautious. If he pulls this off, he gets to write an article in a medical journal. He gets his office redone. I've already rented my apartment for the winter. I call my brother. Can I stay if I can walk? He says, of course. So 4 days in advance, I cancel the surgery. Don't talk to the surgeon. I call the office and the reception says, just call back when I'm ready. But I'll know I'll never be ready for this surgery unless I have, by some miracle, a place to stay. And I'll never be ready for this surgeon. I spend this shocking winter hiding in my brother's basement bedroom. I sleep 18 hours a day. Sometimes I go upstairs and snuggle with Finn, their delightful, delicious cockapoo. I'm happy when folks come home and we eat dinner together. We watch Seinfeld and Modern Family and chat. I get some writing done, but not much. My kind and always loving sister-in-law made me watch too many episodes of Downton Abbey. Who's graduating from high school in the spring, that I'll be Anna, the housekeeper, and she can be Lady Mary. I'm helping her get through her wild end of senior year thing with a school play and dance competitions where she has 3 solos and several group numbers by doing her laundry and cleaning her room and having snacks ready when she runs home between rehearsals. Chrissy comes home for semester break, and I'm so happy with the 2 of them around. I walk softly and never forget I'm in someone else's home, but it's nice to have family around. We've lost that in our culture. Was it so bad to have aunties down the street or upstairs or in the basement? But the larger issues linger. What to do with this body, which is falling apart faster than it can be fixed? What to do with Grace? She's better off with our friends for the 2 months I'm hiding, but she's mine, and I need to be able to take care of her. I never have enough money. The foot seems to get more deformed every week. Stalling for 2 months in the basement isn't going to change everything. I can't live like this. So I think a lot about not living. It's a really passive thought, but it's persistent. Is there hope? Not really. Will the pain ever stop? No, not ever. I keep thinking of the scene in The Hours when Virginia Woolf's Nicole Kidman walks into a picture-perfect British countryside stream, a Downton Abbey stream. She's wearing a celery green coat and matching celery green hat. As she steps into the stream, she's reaching into the water, putting rocks in her pockets. She gets deeper into the water and reaches down when she sees one on the bottom of the stream. She puts that one in her pocket too. Sometimes I can see myself probably just wearing my denim jacket with the Boston Red Sox and Boston Strong pins, a bit of rhinestone. I would go in the evening, sit by the stream for a while. I'd have left Grace with a friend. My cousin will take her in the event that she'll be fine. I love rocks. I'll take some from my garden, some from the river's edge. Go down to the quiet end of the river where Fenway Drive curves near Longwood Ave. I don't think I'd ever do it, but this lingers in my darkest corners. Besides being broken, my right foot is cold all the time because neuropathy and neuralgia. It's as if my lower leg is a chunk of solid ice surrounded by a slowly burning fire that has no impact on the ice. It's covered by gray, leathery skin that's not really skin anymore because it's been frozen and then burned. At home, I use a hot water bottle and heated hand towels in the microwave to try to warm it. I can't use the heating pad because my outlets are not to be trusted with heating elements, and there's nowhere to put it where I wouldn't trip. But at my brother's, the electrical system is not 100 years old, and the outlet is at the end of the bed. I set the heating pad on top of the puffy quilt, and it keeps the end of the bed warm, and my feet feel good. Too hot is awful. Too cold is awful. Just warm is good. Every night in my hideout with some family around, my feet are warm. That's the last paragraph of the book, if you can hang in for 2 more minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we can.
This is the absolute last paragraph on the book. The last chapter is also called Memoir Now. It's after we finally did a major foot surgery. So it opens with finally the foot is done. That was actually number 1 and 2. It was not done. Okay, last paragraph. Over the last several years, based on many sources, I've formed an image of the universe as being of swiftly vibrating energy. It's love and life and stillness and grace and the Lord. We slow down when we're born and speed up when we die. And in these lifetimes, of which I think we have many, we become matter. In my sense of the universe, matter is the slowest form of energy. And I include humans and monkeys and deck chairs in there. Slow, not still. We're either contributing to the purposeful, powerful flow of that universe or trying to push against it. And lupus and terrorism and politics and family squabbles are all distractions. And they matter because we're dealing with them now in this body, in this lifetime, but they don't last. And when I'm still here in this body, on this marvelous, difficult earth, I'll be in pain. Because that's just the truth of it. I'll slip and slide more than I'll waltz or walk, and I'll never get it right. But what else is there to even shoot for but a bit of grace? And I know this. That right shoulder has to go. And that's it.
Anna, that is so gorgeous. Thank you for gifting Memoir Church with that beautiful
Thank you guys so much.
reading.
I'm laughing and breathing.